Right, so good evening, everyone, and thank you for, first of all, signing up for this webinar and also showing up. It's really exciting that we get to do this. I have had that audit workbook out for, I think, a year now, or maybe close to a year. And probably I should have done this earlier when I put out the workbook. But I mean, it's better late than never. And so I'm really happy that we get to do this now. It's really just, I'd say it's a hangout, like just virtually. So we're just getting to talk about auditing. We get to use the workbook together. We get to ask questions, get answers to this question. And trust me, if you ask me any question, I'll do my best to answer. I'm not like an expert. I don't like to see myself like an expert. We are all learning, and we are all learning basically. And so if you ask me anything that I can answer, both of us will open Google here and we'll find the answers for ourselves. You get. So thank you. So I'll just get along and share my screen. Coming. Okay. Okay, we are starting right about now. Okay, first things first, just to make everyone ease into the session, please, how has your week been? Like generally, you can use emojis in the chat section just to share how's your week been. Like you don't have to, if you don't have to use words, just use emoji. How's your week been? Let's see. Wow. There's nobody that is happy. Oh. Promise use the sad emoji. Everybody is this is serious. Okay. So nobody is happy this week like this. Nobody's going to use it happy. Okay. Hi, Grace. Thank you for joining in. Welcome. Okay. Okay. I mean, it's the end of the week. Cheers to that. And I really hope that we'll have a better week. Or more or less, we'll have a better weekend before the new week comes again. Because I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of why everybody's week was like this. Maybe we'll get to talk about it later. I don't know. But let's get started. Thank you very much for sharing. And so our webinar today is titled Put on Your Audit Hat. This was the title of the newsletter that I published on auditing like a year or so. And so when I wanted to put up this webinar, I was like, what do I call it? What do I call it? I just went and took up the name again. I mean, I feel it suits the event and everything. So where you're disturbing me. Yes. Yeah. So I think it suits the event. Put on your audit hat, because naturally when it comes to auditing or giving reports or anything, it's never easy. So it's more like it's a hat you have to put on and then you have to get along with it. Okay, so I am Martha Essien, and I've been building, managing, and supporting communities for 4 years now. Wow. It's always a pleasure to get to share my experience and expertise with everyone. And I created this workbook as a handy guide to help with making the best efforts in community building. And trust me, when I created it, I didn't know I was going to host a webinar about it. It was just out of sharing, getting to help other community professionals get to checkmate their community, get to know what is working, what is not working, and just make sure that you're on track with whatever it is that you're doing in your community. So the purpose of this webinar is to dig deep into what auditing a community can be like, and then we also get to unpack the workbook together. So I think at this point, I'm just going to let you know that there is a new version of the workbook. So initially what you got was a PDF format, and I had to like look back at it. If you're going to have to use this for your community, you're going to have to write things out. And so I thought, why not make it editable in a way that you can actually put down your discoveries in writing, and you can always duplicate it to use for whatever. Sorry about that. As I was saying, so the workbook has a new version and it's on Notion. So you get to duplicate it, and you can write down all of your discoveries in it. So it's easier for you to always look back on it. I don't know how you guys use the PDF. For those who actually used it, I don't know how it was used, whether you wrote it out in a notebook or you were able to edit in it. But I just needed to make something that is easily used so that it will help with whatever it is that you're doing. And that's whether you're auditing the community that you're managing right now, or it's a community that you will audit later, but just having that flexibility, knowing that, oh, anytime I need to audit a community, a different community, I can always duplicate this and just use it afresh. So yeah, we'll get to see that in action soon. So let's begin. A community audit is simply getting to understand your community's overall health, identifying the areas that need improvement, and ensuring that you're still on track with your goals. That's it basically. It's just looking back on everything that you've done for your community, because it's not okay for you to run a community for as long as, I don't know, and then you don't actually get to look back on it. Now, I know we do reports depending on the type of community we manage and who we are reporting to. We have these things where we get to measure the metrics and everything. But away from measuring metrics, auditing helps you to look at other areas of the community that you may not necessarily pay attention to in your day-to-day, but they actually matter. Because places like when you have to check, oh, how are people joining this community? That place that these people are joining from, is that place updated or something? Those are things that are like easily overlooked most times, because sometimes, I don't know if anyone has experienced it. Maybe you get on Google, you heard about a community or something, and you get on Google to just search, because that's like everyone's first point of contact if you probably didn't find them on social media. And then you find the website, but then there's nothing linking you to the community. And so you have to go through rabbit holes to find the community. And so that's one of the things that an audit will help you to avoid. It helps you to check out these places where people could be coming from, and then just making sure that everything is in place. So whether that's outside the community, that's within the community, whatever the case is, the whole essence of a community audit is for you to get a better idea of how your community is performing, and then you make improvements where necessary. And so when do you audit your community? This is like totally dependent on, one, the type of community you manage and how that community is run. For some people, auditing your community annually is ideal, because every year you have to be sure that as the new year starts, you're on track. Like I mentioned, the whole thing with maybe people are finding you from your website. You have to be sure that that link is not broken. You have to be sure that the link on your social media bio is working. You have to be sure that the things that you have put up in the community, whether it's content, whether it's links or resources, those things are still functional. So yes, most people get to do it annually. And then we have when things don't feel like they are working well. So a lot of times, if you sit back and you feel like things are not working, what could be the problem? Most people will start with an audit. and an audit will help them to pinpoint where the problem could be coming from. So that's why most times when people say, I have an engagement problem, I like to say, are you really sure it's an engagement problem? Because we're always very fast to accuse engagement in a lot of things, but then it could not be an engagement problem. It could be an onboarding problem. It could be that you're not giving people enough information, that when they join the community, they don't even know what to do. And so when you're not sure if things are like going well, an audit can be an option. You just get to do everything from the beginning to the end, and you get to find out where that problem could be stemming from. And then we have here a community migration. And so if you're moving your community from one platform to another, or probably your community is a physical community and you people want to start an online community, that is a good place for you to actually get to audit your community, to get to know the places that you need to pay attention to, of course, and get to know what you've done so far and what you can do to support this place or this new thing you're doing with your community. And then we have when you're starting a new job. And this is very essential, especially when you're joining a team that already has a community. Personally, I like when community starts from scratch, because it feels like from the beginning you're there and you know what's happening. But then when you have to pick up from when someone stopped, it's a lot of trying to figure out things, at least for the first 3 weeks or maybe a month, depending on how it was structured. You're going to have to figure out what you're supposed to do. Okay, what was going on before I joined this community? What can I do about it now? Where do I even come in? So in situations like that, where you're starting a new job, you could do an audit. And most times this audit, your employer doesn't have to know about it. You can do it for your own personal responsibility, more like. So I'm doing this to help myself so that I know the places that I need to pay attention to. I know the things I need to do. And I just get to understand this community that I have inherited from someone else. And so we also have a major strategic shift. So say your goal has shifted, things are changing. Your community was a non-profit, but now it's no longer a non-profit. Or your community was a free community, but now it's a paid community. In all of those strategic shifts, you're going to have to conduct an audit, just so you're on track, just so you know that, okay, this is what we've done so far, and this is what we need to do to move from point A to point B. So I hope we've all gotten that. Please respond with a reaction. Okay, thank you, Adele. Sorry, I don't want to spoil your name. Adele, thank you. Okay. And so the different forms that an audit can take, I think 2 days to putting out the invitation to this webinar. One of the community professionals that I actually look up to and respect put out a blog post on auditing. I was like, okay, what are the odds? And so this particular slide, everything here, I got it from her blog post. And so I'm just going to share, because away from knowing how to do your audit, you need to know how you present your audit. And so she shared that the different forms that an audit can take are a simple summary document that includes a brief summary, observation, learnings, and recommendation. So this provides a comprehensive report on what you found and what you recommend, like the next steps that somebody has to take now that you have found something. And so that's the basic form of audit, and that's the one we're going to be exploring. That after you're done finding things out, after you're done analyzing your community, that you're able to put it down into summary for your stakeholder or whoever you report to, and then that person is able to know, okay, this is what you found. The person is able to know that this is what you found and this is what you recommend that they do to help salvage whatever situation it is. And then another form is a learning deck. So according to her, she said that a learning deck is used when delivering to stakeholders or internal team. So here you present the key data and the action items upfront, and then you save your observations and learning when it is being requested from. So let's talk about this a little more. So actually, when I considered auditing, or when I do auditing, it's always been the simple summary document for me. But when I got to read about this, I was like, okay, there are levels to these things. And so here, this learning deck is really specified for stakeholders and internal team. But also, I want to believe that it depends on the team that you're working in. If you're not working in a very big organization, it might not be necessary. You can still use a simple summary document to probably share the key data before you share your observations. I don't know if you get, but in a situation where you're working with very like a very big team, like big organizations, where you're probably reporting to somebody that reports to somebody that reports to somebody, then a learning deck might be necessary, in the sense that, oh, this is the one time where you get to actually stand in front of your stakeholders to talk. Other times you've been passing through somebody, do you get? And so, but if it's a small team, a team where you relate with your founder in very cordial ways, not like in a disrespectful way, but you people talk one-on-one, you and the founder of this community have one-on-one conversations, or you people are even friends, you know, a simple summary document would do. But if in the case of the fact that this person you're working with actually asks for something more comprehensive, then you should try a learning deck. And then the last one is a spreadsheet or data dashboard that presents an in-depth numeric analysis, especially where there's an existing community with lots of analyzable data points. Okay, and so I think this really plays out with numbers. If you're, like it said here, it presents an in-depth numeric analysis where there's an existing community with lots of data already. And so with this one, you're literally going to use like a spreadsheet to analyze your community. And this one has to do with a whole lot of numbers. And in my head, it feels like it's reports because it's reports that has to do with metrics, numbers, and all of those things. But so you don't get confused and everything, the essence of sharing this was just so you know that your audits can be presented in different forms. And so for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to stick with a simple summary document. And so what this does is that regardless of the type of audit you're doing, you know that you can always put your findings into a document and you can always share it with your team, and they get to understand what you found and what you're recommending and the next steps that you need to take to make the community better. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put the mic out to everyone right now. Right after this, we are getting into the workbook proper. And so before we do that, I'll just really love to hear from anyone that got to use the workbook. I'd love to know what was the experience like for you, and the thing that you used it for, like, did it help you in any way? That's really what I want to know, because I got a lot of replies that said a little bit. I think like 3 people said yes. I'm not sure if they're on this call right now, but 3 people said yes, and every other person were either no or a little bit. So I'll just really love to hear from 1 or 2 persons who actually got to use it, even if you used it a little bit. I want to know what the experience was like for you. More like, why did you use it? Was it like an annual planning, or you just randomly used it? And when you did use it, what did it help you in discovering, and how did that help your community? So anyone that's willing to share, you could just raise up your hand and I'll call you in. Thank you. Okay, just so we don't hold this up for so long, I think we'll just get into the workbook right away. And so let me share this instead. Okay, this is what the new workbook looks like. Like I mentioned earlier, it's on Notion. And so it will allow for editing and duplicating, using it whenever you're auditing any community at all. So if you have like a new community that you want to audit, you can just duplicate these templates and use it afresh and all. Okay. Okay, sorry, let me read this comment here. I haven't used the workbook as I wasn't doing community management last year. Okay, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Notion lovers, it's okay. I'm not actually a Notion lover, but I had to do it for you people because I couldn't use Google Doc to do it. Google Doc just cut. You're not the only one. It's so confusing, but I think don't worry, you're not going to dislike this template. It's very easy. It's like very, very easy. I made sure it was easy, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like Notion. It has a whole lot of things that can be done, and most times it's confusing and all. But I made this very simple. Since Google Doc just didn't want to work, and I had to make this good. So yeah. So let's get started. Right here, I have instructions where I said you hit duplicate in the top right corner to add this template to your own Notion board and all, just so you know how to go about it. I'm not, like I said, personally, I'm not a Notion person. And so I had to put all of that instructions there for someone who is like me. So you just get around it. And I noted here that you should go wild with the text box. Share everything you discover. Even though it feels like a yes or no answer, write everything. If you said it's yes, explain why you said it's yes. I mean, it's your workbook, you get. So don't try to hold back on the things you're sharing, because what you're sharing is going to help you with what you will later get to recommend for the community and everything. And so we have here your community name, and you could also include a little description of your community here. I don't know if I can zoom into this a bit. Let me try. Okay, I can. So we have the community name here, and you could also include a little description of what your community is all about and whatnot. And so first things first is your goals. We're going to look into goals. And now, what are the core objectives of your community? What is the main goal or the goals of your community, basically? What are the things that your community is looking to achieve? A lot of times we have people who set their objectives generally, like they have this major goal that no matter the year you find yourself, that goal is still the same. But we also have people who, by at the beginning of every year, they set new objectives for their community. Most people do it every 6 months. Most people do it quarterly. Now, I'm showing this because I don't know the type of community that you're managing and what it is like for you. But I believe that whatever that is like for you and whatever duration that you're using to audit your community, you could always talk about the core objectives of your community. So what are the core objectives of your community? What are the things that you hope that your community is looking to achieve in this year? And so say, for example, you said that you want to, I'm going to use engagement because it's more like, it's what everybody always uses. It's more like everybody has an objective around engagement. There's nobody that does not have an objective around engagement. And so say your core objective for the year is to increase your community engagement by, say, 5% from what it is originally, or maybe it's to increase your event attendance to a certain number or a certain percentage. So whatever it is, write it, and please make it smart. It's not enough to say, I want to increase engagement. That is not a goal. That's just like a desire. I don't know. It's not a goal. Your goal has to be smart, it has to be specific, measurable, achievable. I hope I'm correct. But yeah, if you say you want to increase engagement, don't just say you want to increase engagement. It's more like, I want to increase engagement by this percentage by this time. I want to increase engagement by 5% in the first 3 months. I want to increase event attendance by 50% for the whole year. So by December 2023 and all of that. And so the next thing here is, how are these objectives aligned with the broader goals of the organization? And now this comes down to organizations where community is a product. More like, there are a lot of businesses where community is the business. You're working with these people and everything they do is the community. The community is what even started the business. And so it's not like the community is a part of the business. Now, when you now have organizations where, say, I don't even know who I'll use right now, but say there's an organization, say the organization is owned by Chineye, and Chineye has a marketing agency, and Chineye now wants to have a community. Now, in that situation now, it means that Chineye organization has community as a product. And so when you're auditing that kind of community, you have to always check in that the goal that you have set for the community, or the goal that the stakeholders have set for the community, aligns with the main organization goal. What is Chineye's marketing agency hoping to achieve in this year, in this quarter, in this first half of the year? And how is this community goal going to help Chineye's marketing agency achieve that goal? That is what usually happens with every organization that has community as a product. Whatever you do in the community has to benefit the main organization. I hope we're getting that. But if it's in the case where Chineye has a community, and the community is for small business owners who are just starting up and need help with their marketing. Now, Chineye does not have an agency. The only thing that Chineye has is that community. In that point, now the community is not a part of an organization. The community itself is the organization, is the business, is everything. And so in that case, this second point might not be necessary, because that's how does this objective align with the broader goals of the organization? It might not be necessary because the organization itself, the main organization itself, is already the community. And so you could just skip that, and then you come back, you come down to the third one, which is, have this objective shifted over time? If so, how can they be realigned? So these objectives that you've set, now Remember that we are conducting an audit, and an audit is you looking back at what you've done so far, looking back at your community over the year, looking back at your community over the first quarter or over the first half of the year. And then you're asking yourself, this objective that we set for this community, has it shifted? Or are we still doing the things that we said we wanted to do? The things we are aiming for, has it shifted, or we are still doing what we said we were going to do? And so that's where this third question comes in. Have these objectives shifted over time? If so, how can they be realigned? Or is it a matter of it has shifted, we are going in a new direction? Whatever the case is, just get to document that in this text box that has been provided here. So I'm just going to pause now and ask if anyone has any question as regard what we've just discussed now, which is goals. If you have any question at all, please ask.
Hi, Martha.
Hi.
Okay, so I wanted to ask that what if the organization is non-profit and majorly the major issue they had was just engagement issues, and basically you, the committee manager, realized that it's not really engagement issues, just that the so-called community members are very busy people, their lifestyle, their accounts professionals is very busy, so they hardly interact a lot most of the time, and we have people from different parts of the world in the community. So imagine somebody, I don't know, so and now like imagine you, the community manager, who doesn't really know so much about community management, just give a very I don't know how to put it, a very absurd metric. So you're like, oh, you would improve engagement by 20%, and that was just you and starting your work February 2024. That's my situation. So I really don't know how to even say, oh, did I achieve my goal or not, until I go deep down, because I want to actually do an audit this year. So that's just my new dilemma. That's why I'm trying to find out if that's even a goal or not.
Okay. It's actually a goal. And you have to remember that the whole essence of the goal is to give you direction, to help you plan whatever you're doing to be in alignment with what you have set as the goal. So if at the end of the year you get back to measure it and you didn't get up to 20%, but you got 10% or 5%, it doesn't mean that you haven't like shifted engagement to a particular level. The important thing is that you have. Sorry?
No problem, you can go on.
Okay. The important thing is actually having a goal, so that when you get to the end of the year or when you get to the end of whatever period of time, you can actually look back and say, okay, this is what was supposed to happen. And even though I didn't have it 100%, I was able to do it to a certain level. And this is the result that I have so far. And then from there, you're able to plan better. Okay, I did 20% this year. Maybe we got to 10%. That means I could leave the remaining 10% for the next year instead of setting another 20%. I hope you understand that.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
All right. And we'll get to the second part of the audit, which is touch points. When I was introducing the whole audit thing, I think I touched on this. And that's touch points is basically how people find out about your community. And so I talked about websites, I talked about social media, it could also be word of mouth. But now we are looking at the things that we can control, because word of mouth is not in your control and all. And so we start with, how do people find out about your community? So how do people find out? What touch points do you have on the internet, if it's an online community, that people can find out about your community? You'll find that most communities that are like physical communities, they have their touch point as well. It could be that they have their flyers in certain places where their audience gets to hang out. And they have those flyers, and when people pick it up, they'll be like, oh, there's a place like this that I could actually go and meet people like myself. Or they could also have people within that physical community. Say it's a very tight-knitted community, and people actually get to walk up to their neighbor's house, like you watch in Hollywood, and talk to them one-on-one, like, oh, I'm part of this community. I found out that you are interested in this kind of stuff and all. So the whole point here I'm making here is that physical communities have a way that they reach out to people like them. And so that means that even as an online community, you should have a place where people find out about your community. It's not enough that you're just doing community and you're hoping that people will find out about you. Just put yourself in places that that, oh, these people that would look for me, these are the places that they would likely search for me. And so if that would mean having a website or a landing page that if someone searches in, more like an SEO optimized landing page, that when somebody searches a community for this, that your community will be among the community that will pop up, and then people get to find you. And if it's social media, you make sure that your social media name is optimized in a way that when people actually search on social media, you can pop up. So now, how do people find out about your community? You get to write that down. Is it through your website? Is it through social media? Is it through placements on email address and email newsletters? Because a lot of people also do that as well. When you see people sponsoring newsletters, or you see somebody saying, oh, this newsletter is sponsored by so and so, most times people are doing that just to get the word out about their own community. And so what are these different ways that that people find out about your community? Now, the next thing is to check, are these touch points up to date? Now, up to date is from the content. What did they write there about your community? It could be that the last time they updated it was the last time, and so many things have changed about your community. And so get to look into it. Is this content up to date? This thing that we said that we do, this thing that we said that we are, is it up to date? Are we still doing these things? And then you also check for any broken or inactive links. So that's like when you say sign up for the community, or when you say join the community, is that link still working? And so this would mean that you have to do it from the angle of being a user and not from the admin angle. Get somebody else's phone if you can't use your own device or something. Just tell a friend, check out this link, is it working? When you fill it out, what happens? And you just get to make sure that everything is working the way that it should. Because a lot of times these technologies, they fail. You might have done your part on the back end and you're sure that everything is working, only for somebody to come and tell you, oh, when I clicked, nothing happened. Or when I clicked, I was not sure if it's submitted or not. So all those little things, you take it into consideration, and then you work on it to make sure that everything is going the way that you want it to go. And then we also have, do your call to actions clearly communicate what you want people to do? If no, write out the CTAs to try out. That's the call to action to try out. I want to believe that majority of us here would have like marketing background or something, or even if you don't, community will introduce you to marketing. And so that's your call to actions are really important. What are you asking people to do? When people get to your website and they read all about the wonderful things you're doing in your community and all the problems you're solving for them and all of that, what do you want them to do? You can't just leave it for them to decide, or you can't just assume that they will know what to do. Most people need a prompt to do what they need to do. If you get to check like most people's landing page for their communities, you see a lot of, you see like the first paragraph talks about, this is what this community is about, and then you see sign up. But then if you scroll down, you still see that it's not like the call to action have changed. It might just be said in a different way, because most people will not just read the first word and take it for it. Most people want to see more and more of what is happening down, like, okay, you said this is what you do, okay, so what does that mean? And they'll have to like keep scrolling down to check, and before they can be convinced to like even sign up to your community. And so your call to actions are really important. What do you want people to do when they learn about these things you are saying about your community? What do you want them, what action do you want them to take? Do they have to sign up like directly to the community? Is there a form that they need to fill? Do they have to reach out to somebody? Depending on how your community works and all of that, just make sure that those call to actions, they are clearly communicated. And then we have, what is the process for new members to join? Is your onboarding efficient and smooth? And that still comes back to this point where I said, find somebody that can try it out from their end as a user. You yourself, you can also sign up for your community as a user. So you get to know what the process is like when new members are joining. Is it smooth? Is it the way you had planned it to be? So experiment joining the community as a member. Get to like experience it, know how it feels when somebody actually signs up for your community, and what that process takes, maybe from your website or your social media, what it takes from there to they actually land in the community. Please, if we're still together, please just drop like a reaction or something. Let's know if I'm talking to myself. Thank you. Okay, Adele, Ayo, you can speak.
No, I was trying to react. It was a mistake.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so the next one here is guidelines. Are the current guidelines still in line with your community's culture? Guidelines are basically the rules that you have for your community, how you expect people to behave, what you expect them to do and not to do in the community. So you check for it, are these guidelines still in line with your community's culture? Are they still in line with what your community stands for? With actually analyzing your goals in the first part, you should know what your community stands for. You should know the values that your community actually stands on. And so when you're writing your rules and your guidelines, they have to be in line with that. So you get to check out your rules and get to analyze it. Oh, this thing that we said last year, or this thing that we did some years ago, is it still in line with what we believe for our community? And then are they communicated clearly and shared in the right places? Because a lot of times you could write out rules in a way that people don't understand what you're saying, or people don't get it per se. And so you have to check, this thing we said, is it being communicated clearly? Especially in situations where you find that people actually break the rules a lot. You really have to check, is it that it's not being communicated the right way? Is it that they don't get it? Now, this is away from the fact that most people would clearly not read. But then you just have to check in and confirm that what you have put out there is communicated clearly and also shared in the right places. We have people who might have their rules, like when you're actually trying to join the community, they show it to you. And then we also have people who have it in the community so that they can always refer to it. They always tell you, oh, look up our rules at this channel, just so you are in line with what we're doing here. So also ensure that depending on the platform that you're using and depending on how much that your rules need to be communicated, that your rules are being shared in the right places. And lastly, are there any new issues or trends that require amendments to the guidelines? So far, you have managed your community for the year or for whatever duration that is, and then you get to pinpoint things that have come up that would require that we make adjustments to the guidelines. Is there anything that maybe initially when we set the guidelines, we did not put it into consideration, and now this has happened, and so we need to adjust it? So look out for those issues that have come up and you need to fix with the guidelines and everything, and just make sure that that happens. Next thing here is engagements. Everyone's could also overlap with the metrics that you're going to take for your community. And so for engagement, we have, do your programs or contents align with your overall community goal. Now, going back to your goals, like how I said that your objective has to be aligned with your main organization. Now, the programs that you plan for your community, the content that you plan for your community has to be aligned with your overall goal for that community. Like she shared earlier about how she wants to increase engagement by 20%. Now, when you come down to engagement, it's checking the things you have planned or you have done. These things that we have done, how does it help us increase engagement? So you're not just putting up a program or you're not just putting up content just because content sake, but that everything you're doing is intentional towards that goal that you have to increase your engagement by 20%. In short, no matter the percent, just make sure that your content, your events, your programs, whatever it is in alignment with your overall community goal. So in engagement, that's what you're checking. Does your program align with your overall community goal? Secondly, what strategies are driving participation and which ones are not working? You have to be very sincere with yourself here. You know that when it comes to engagement, there are a lot of strategies you would try. And most times, even when things actually work for your community, you still have to revisit it because people can get tired of it. People can get bored. People can probably not be interested in it anymore. So you have to look out, oh, this thing we've tried out over time, how has it been driving participation? And which ones now are not even working anymore? Which ones can we put away and all? And then we have what new strategies can be introduced based on observation, trends, or feedback over the year. Now I'm using it as if you're doing an annual auditing. Over the year, members have probably shared things with you. Oh, I wish we could do this. Or you've noticed things yourself within the community that you would want to try. Or you've probably heard of somebody sharing a particular framework or strategy that worked for their community, and you had noted it down that this is something that you would like to try for your community. Now, this is the point where you write it all down. What are those new strategies? Whether it's from observation, from trends, or from feedback, what are they? So you put it all down just so you're able to have that like written down. It's not just in your head, you get. And then are there opportunities for collaboration or user-generated content? Now, this is basically getting to work with your community members. UGC is user-generated content, and sometimes we love to call it community-generated content. What it means is it's not just you creating content for your community. It's not just you doing events for your community, but that your community members are also contributing to that process. And so when you get to audit your community, you get to look out for those opportunities where people could get to collaborate, team, which is you and your team members, and they could also get to create content for the community. They could be experts who want to share their knowledge. They could be people with so much expertise that you could ask them their knowledge with other people. So look out for it. Are there opportunities for collaboration or user-generated content? Getting to audit your members. So we see, does the current demography of your member align with your target audience? When your community was created, whether it's your personal, it's you that created the community yourself, or you're working for somebody that created a community, they had a target audience. Who is that target audience? And now, the current people that you have gathered in your community, do they align with that target audience? This is something that really needs to be checked. If it's a situation where, okay, there are a lot of people that are in this community that were not like our target audience, then you begin to ask, where did this happen? How did it like get mixed up, and why? Most times it's not a bad thing. It could also be that, okay, your community has grown to an extent that it is actually attracting people from different demography that you didn't like think that it would attract initially, because at the end of the day is when you start doing that you really know that, okay, this community can be this community can be this. And so if in that situation you just get to like put it out there, these current people that we have in our community, are they in alignment with our target audience? And if no, why? Where did we get it mixed up? And is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Do we have to push people out, or do we have to work with the people that are here? So all of that, you get to document that there. And then we have your membership criteria changed? What does it take for somebody to become your member? How has that changed over the years? Is it still the same thing? Is there anything that needs to be changed? You get, so all of that, you get to document that there. Do you have a system for regularly updating members' data, and has their data been updated? This is it's not everyone that gets to do this, because everything really depends on what you are asking your members to provide. And so if you are in a situation where their information or certain things need to be updated regularly, it means that you need to have a system in place that you actually get those things updated. Whether that's reaching out to them one-on-one, or you maybe you're always having a new form every quarter or something, or every year, so that people get to fill it again and they update whatever information that you want them to update. But if that's not necessary, if all the information that you have about your members is something that doesn't need to be updated, and then that's fine. But I put it there for people that might be in that situation where they need to update their members' data. When you're auditing, it's actually a good place to check in with that. And then we have metrics. What area is your community performing well? Put it all down. Put it all down. Like, it's more like shower yourself with all the love that you have done something and these things are working well. It's always very easy to point out the things that are not working well, but you have to start with the things that are actually working well. No matter how small, put it all out. And then what areas is your community underperforming? This is you being truthful to yourself and telling yourself the truth. Okay, despite the fact that these things are working, there are these ones that should have been better, but they are not performing the way that they should perform. So what are those areas? Put it down. And then if your objective has changed, what new metrics should be prioritized? Now that's linking back to your core objective, which is in your goals. If things have changed, if the goal that you had, something have shifted about it, it also means that what you're going to be measuring will equally shift, because the things you measure are really tied to your goals. And so if your objective have changed, what are the new metrics now that you have to take notice of? What are the new things that you have to measure whenever you're doing your reports for your community? Then we come down to platform. Is your platform easy to navigate for both new and long-term members? And I feel like that's just like explanatory. You yourself look through your platform. If maybe because you've been using the platform for a long time, it's okay for you, you can ask a friend or a fellow community person that you speak with to actually get to look at it and give you their honest opinion, give you their honest review. Is it easy to navigate? Also, you can get to ask members, how do you find this platform? Is it easy to navigate? Is there another platform you would like? You get. And then, is there a need for new features, integration, or platform changes? It all comes down to feedback. This is how far your community has grown. Are there things that you would love to see in the community? Maybe like integration of features that you haven't done yet, or maybe the platform is limiting you from doing it. And then you get to like put all of that. If yes, why? You really need to actually answer why you feel there's a need for it. It could be that your community has grown to a point where you cannot manually be tracking things again. And so you need to like put integrations in places to maybe manage your onboarding, maybe help you with measuring your metrics. And it could be that the platform you are on doesn't allow for that. So that would mean that you probably have to move to a new platform. And also all of those things come to play. So look through your platform, get to understand, is there anything that we are going to need? Is there new things that we are going to need? Is there a platform we're going to have to shift to? And just get to put all of that down. And then, are there inactive channels that should be removed or reactivated? Are there outdated or irrelevant content that needs to be updated or removed? And now that's, I think that a lot of people that get to manage Discord have this discussion a lot. Like having a lot of channels that's people are not using anymore, but it's still there. What is he doing there? Or having a place that the content that is there is past, like people have moved on from it, but then that channel still exists. So you get to look into all those things. This channel that we have, whether it's on Slack, on Discord, or Facebook as well, WhatsApp, whatever, just look through the things that you have in your community, whether it is content or it is a feature of the platform. What is the thing that is no longer necessary? Take it out. If it is something that needs to be archived, archive it for now. If it has to be completely removed, remove it. If there are outdated content that's like the community has gone past from it, members are no longer interested, take it down. If that content is not even relevant anymore, take it down. If it is something that needs to be updated, like the information in it has to be updated, just do that, update it, so that it's not just there and then it's not helping anybody, but it's just there, probably just making the place unnecessarily crowded or something. And then we come down to roles. Roles is the last one. So are there community members who take on leadership documents that you have that opportunity for people to either sign up as super members or experts or moderators, whatever roles are in your community, you get to document that. How are these roles structured and what support do they receive? How these roles that you have, these leadership roles that you have created for your community members, how do you structure it? And then what support are you giving to them? Because it's not just enough to have the roles and have people take on the role. You have to actually support them in whatever form that support would be. And then, is there a need for more leadership or volunteer roles to improve your community operations? We have a lot of communities that are running in a way that they can't actually get to hire maybe moderators or extra hands to do certain things within the community, but they have community members that can actually take up this role and get to do these things for them. And so you have to look into that. Is there a need for more roles from like within the community that could help improve community operations? If maybe you are the only community manager and the community has gotten busy in such a way that you can't be answering all the questions all the time, but then you also notice that there are community members that like to do these things willingly, and most times you find that most times the community members actually reach out to you telling you that, oh, I would love to help in this capacity. And so in cases like that, these are things you need to take note of. So when you're reporting to your team lead or to the founder, you're able to share these things with them. Oh, this is how it's been with me, and there are certain people that are willing to take up these positions, and so get to take note of that. And then we have any improvement or new direction for the current roles. So the roles that you already have in your communities, whether that's moderation, is an expertise role or whatever, get to look into it. Are there new ways that you want these people to do their duties within the community? Is there a new direction that role is taking? Is there a way they are supposed to show up for these roles? So you just get to write all of that there. And so by that, you've come to the end of like your auditing this thing. Don't try to do it in one day, or if you cannot, please. It's a whole lot of brain work a lot of times. And so it's important that you give yourself time. If you know that you're going to have to do an audit by December, you can start November. Just start noting down these things one by one. It doesn't mean you need to have all the answers at once, but just start noting it down so that you're not doing it all at once. Your brain will be drained, promise you. And so we come down to the last part of everything, which is your findings and your recommendations. Now, this is where you get to put it all down. What did you find out when you were auditing this community? What were the things that you found out? You write it down all here. You put it down all here. And you click on this arrow, you'll be able to see how the list that you can write number 1, number 2, and all of that. So put down everything that you found out, the things that needs to be changed, the thing that is not working anymore, the thing that has spoiled, the experience that is not giving. Just put it all down there. And then when you're done with putting down the findings, you come down to recommendations and you match your finding with your recommendation. Oh, this is what I found out. this is what we need to do. This is what I found out. This is what we need to do. This is what I found out. This is what we need to do. And so in this case now, this template can be something that you get to share with your team members. Now, depending on how your community runs, you can get to share it with them so that they get to see everything that you put down. But if in a case where you have to report to like stakeholders in a way that this will not be appropriate, then you need to use a different template to put down your findings and your recommendations. And there's one here by Max Pitt. I don't know, sorry, Max Pitt. I think some of us should know him. He actually has a template that you can use to report your findings from your audits. And so this is what it looks like. And see if I can increase this. It's really tricky. But generally, what he has here is the overview. He says, in this audit, I've provided general observation of my experience in the data community and recommendations. So you see, you get to list out the main points of this audit. Then you get to talk about what you've observed. And then you get to write out your recommendations. So like right here with this, his template is more like after everything, after you've done everything with the workbook and you need to like submit this, your report to your stakeholders, or you need to present it to them, you get, and you're thinking, how do I write it out? Even if you don't use Notion, you can just pick this up and put it in whatever platform is convenient for him, even that's Google Doc or something. But this template now shows you how you put out that report. Just in case you're, personally, if it's me, I'll probably try to do it on my own. But also it helps to find a template so that you know that, okay, I'm on track, I've not missed anything. And so that I linked this template in the workbook, so that when you're done with everything and you need something to help you, you can like click on it and you find all of that. And okay. And so that's on the workbook. And now we're going to get into questions and answers and all. Please, if you have any question, you have anything that you want to clarify, something you're not sure of, or all of that, you can just get to act right now and we'll get to like tackle it together. And if you have any feedback on the workbook itself, you could also share with me. I'm really open to feedback. If there's a way I can make it better, if there's something I did not include that you feel I should include, please just let me know. Thank you so much. Okay, there's no question. Okay, I think this is where we say our thank yous. We say our thank yous, our goodbyes. But I'm really grateful that first you signed up and you showed up. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. It's actually fun getting to do this with everyone. It's actually my first event. I've hosted events for other people, but I've not like had my own event. So it's really great that we get to do this together. Next week, Friday, I will be having another event. That one is actually open to everyone. This one was really for people who got the workbook, but that one is open to everyone, and we'll be discussing content, more like content planning. I'm going to get to share my workbook. Sorry. Used to workbook. I'm going to share my planner, the planner I use to plan content for communities. It has actually been on sale for a while now, and I just want to get to share that with other people, get to see what it looks like. And who knows, maybe at the end of that call, it might not be on sale again. I'll just leave it out for free. But anyways, thank you so much for coming around. And if there's anything you'd love to share from the event, please do share and tag me, and I'll be so glad to see it. Thank you so much, and have a very great weekend.